Hey there folks, Sam Relove Guitars here, and what I'm doing is finishing what has been a very tricky job for a good long time customer of mine, name of JT, and this is one of JT's many guitars that I've worked on, and this one is a FMT Telecaster Fender that we've seen before in here for various different jobs. Hold on, loud noise. And this has been in for a couple of different things in the, well, it's been in for setups and other things, but now it also came in for a tremolo fitting as well. So we've done all manner of stuff, and you can probably spot straight away what the latest adjustment or amendment to this guitar is, and that is the zigzag thingies. Let's have a look. I'll put that there, give me a good rest. Yeah, the zigzags, mother of pearl zigzags, and oh my goodness, was this a challenge. JT likes to give me difficult jobs, challenging jobs, and this is certainly one of them. So he had an idea that he wanted this guitar with the zigzags on it, and the FMT Telecaster comes with very large, pretty abalone style, I couldn't remember that word the other day, abalone style dots as standard. So we had to first of all try and find the appropriate mother of pearl material, which I have to tell you was impossible to find what I wanted in the right thickness, seemingly impossible. Anyway, so I ended up buying 2 sets of 1mm thick stuff and waiting for them. Came staggered. I got one, got a second one from China, and then stuck the two together, and then tried to cut out the zigzags. And the first ones I tried the scroll saw, and it was too hard for the scroll saw, and it just sent it all over the place. Then I tried the bandsaw, which could cope with it, even though it created a shower of sparks while it was cutting it. But the bandsaw then split apart some of the 2-ply material that I'd used, which is not good. So I gave up that. So then I decided that the only way I was going to get the shapes out of it was to cut them with the Dremel cutting wheel, the cutting disc, which is on, where is it? This little thing. Actually, it's got a dent taken out of it, but you know, one of those, right? And so I had to bring the material to the wheel and sort of gently nibble away until I got what I wanted. So that that eventually worked, but it was hard going. And then I had to finish off the shapes with file and sandpaper and whatever. So just getting 10 or whatever it was, you know, the full set of shapes done was a real pain. Then, having done that, you've then got the challenge of setting them in. So you get yourself a Dremel with a guide, you get a little tiny bit for very shallow, very small, fine routing, and that was difficult enough to get the right bit for it, because you can pay a fortune for them, but I found some reasonably good ones for not too much money. And so then you have to draw around your pieces onto your fingerboard, make sure everything is where you want it, and then you have to start cutting it out, and it's very, very difficult to do. It's really hard to see what you're doing, etc., etc. Anyway, that finally got done, and you can't go. You have to guess a sort of depth you need to go, because you have to end up with, if you've got the curve of the fingerboard, you have to end up with the stuff sitting atop the radius, and it has to sit in far enough to bite. You have to get glue stuff underneath it, and then you end up with the top bits here and here sticking out, and you have to take those off. with a radius block, which is what I've done. So anyway, I got the depth just about right. It took 2 complete passes and lowering the depth down in between on the Dremel. So I got that done, and then of course what happens is you realise by the time you get up here and you're cutting out the little shapes, and then the walls of the slots crumble and flake apart and just literally fall apart. So I ended up with kind of bits falling out and holes appearing everywhere, which was not fun. So then I had to build those back up using glue and rosewood dust, which in itself was quite a task, because you then start, if you're building up the side wall of a slot, you're pretty much guaranteed to end up with glue and stuff going into the slot, which then you have to find a way to scrape clean. But of course you can't actually scrape it clean, because nothing sharp enough or abrasive enough can get into the slots without ripping the slots apart. So you had to get a little drill bit for the Dremel and end up drilling and dragging the drill sideways, but a sort of 0.6 or 0.8 millimeter drill, which created quite a loose fitting, decent size but not too big, but just about right, fairly comfortably loose fitting, I would say, slot for these frets. And so we end up cleaning those out today, and I got them all the slots fully cleaned out today to my satisfaction, because the thing you can't afford is to be trying to refret something like this guitar and end up with frets sticking up because there's some clagged up glue sat in the slot at the far end that you didn't manage to get right out. So I managed to, it took ages to clean out the slots and get them, if you like, drilled through the way I wanted them drilled. Let's just make sure this gets where I want it to be. Yeah, so much of the time was spent on cleaning those slots out last night and today, and then having cut the frets, then the next thing to do was to make sure that when you're doing a set neck guitar like this, that a certain section of the neck will be nigh on impossible to reach with the edge beveling file. So you kind of just have to start with that understanding, and it's pretty much everything from here upwards. You just won't get to it, not without damaging the finish, but you can't get to it full stop. But so what you need to do when you're fretting is you need to hand file these so that they are nearly finished, almost as near as, damn it, kind of the exact right length. Now these are all a bit longer, so I can use the beveling file, but these I may only just be able to reach them for a little bit of final finishing off by hand. So I'm about to fit the last fret. Ooh, yeah, you can sort of see, hey, I've got you stuck to the whiteboard at the moment, which could fall off at any moment. So this is just a quick hello. It happens to be my birthday today, 57. And before you think, oh, well, you idiot, what are you doing working on your birthday? I have spent a large chunk of today swinging in the hammock in the sunshine, so please do not in any way feel sorry for me, other than being 57, because I have had a very relaxed day, and I couldn't have wished for a nicer, more relaxed day. So there we have it. Let's see what we've got in terms of our counter. Will it let me see? That's very handy when you set a stopwatch and it goes off. Okay, so having cleaned the slots out, I'm happy to say that those frets went in really smoothly. Now let me pull you down from here a minute. Sorry about this. Undo you. Fly you in. So a little bit of trimming to do here, and then we get down to here, and it's mostly trimmed, pre-trimmed from there. But I wouldn't mind smoothing those, but I'll smooth them probably certainly smooth them with the aid of this and a bit of sandpaper. So here we have you can see there traces of the huge, great original dots, which I filled in with a mixture of araldite and brown paint, well, brown acrylic, but that will sort of darken down when we get we're able to get some oil on it. But that is actually a ton better than at certain points I thought this was going to look, and it's also the fretting is covered up, or I've actually repaired out most of the ragged edges. Certainly up here you can see that this is too close to an edge to route out anything. If you're not doing this with a laser cutter in some factory, then you don't want to be going anywhere near those fret slots the way I have here. Okay, look, that's 10 minutes, so I just wanted to say a quick hello. I'll get that uploaded overnight, but there you go, the famous FMT telly of JT's, and there's the unorthodox, tremolo cavity in the back, which I think probably made a few people gasp, draw a breath in a gasp at some point, because we've done a lot of non-standard things to this guitar. But anyway, when he wants those modifications, we give it to him. There you go. Thanks for watching.